They say the forest knows your name. Not metaphorically, literally. You walk beneath the trees and at first it's quiet. Too quiet. Then a whisper behind you. It sounds like your name. Soft, familiar. But you're alone, aren't you? These are real stories. Real hikers. And none of them ever heard the forest the same way again. Milo, 28, was hiking in northern Oregon. Dense pines, fog in the morning, total isolation. He thought he heard someone calling from deep in the brush. Milo. It wasn't loud, but it cut through everything. He followed the sound for 20 minutes, only to end up back at his car. The voice had led him in a perfect circle. Milo recorded the sound that night. He left his phone on record outside his tent. The next morning, he played it back. Most of it was wind, owls, normal forest sounds. Then faintly static. Inside the static, a voice. Milo turned around. He hadn't moved once during the night. But something or someone had stood just behind the tent. A Reddit user shared this. Camping alone in a Kentucky forest, they heard rustling all night. Normal, they thought. But around 3 a.m. something whispered, "You hear me, don't you?" Not a question, a statement. No footsteps, no movement, just a voice. Right beside their sleeping bag. They packed up before sunrise. That forest. No signal. No people. No explanation. 3 friends hiking in Pennsylvania, Emma, Ray, and Joel. They joked about the whispering forest legends. Night fell and they started hearing it. Their own names spoken quietly. Always just one person heard it at a time. Until Joel asked who said Emma's name just now. Both Emma and Ray went pale. Neither of them had spoken. Emma left the forest with a recording too. Not hers, the forest left it. When she got home, her phone had a file she never made. It played for 2 minutes. The first voice said, "Joel, Emma, Ray." Then a pause. Then another voice whispered something she'll never forget. "Emma, your mother never forgave you." That was never spoken aloud in her life. Ray went back alone. He needed answers. The same forest, same trailhead. Only this time, the path was gone. No sign of the trail they followed just weeks before. The forest had shifted. He heard a laugh, dry, breathless. And a voice that said, "Back so soon." He never found the way out the same way again. Sound behaves differently in haunted forests. That's what investigators say. Your voice doesn't bounce, it folds. Samantha was recording owl calls when she heard her own voice played back seconds later. Only twisted, distorted, as if the forest was trying to speak, using her mouth. She ran, but her footsteps, they echoed twice. One set hers, one set a few seconds behind. Most stories begin with someone entering the woods, but a few start before that. Alex had never been to Virginia, yet every night for weeks he heard it. A whisper in his room. "Come to the pines." It always said the same thing. He finally went. When he stepped into the forest, he heard his name from every direction at once. Alex never came back alone. After Virginia, the whisper followed him. In his car, in his house, always just beyond hearing. Until it was. He recorded a voice saying, "This isn't where you belong." Every time he deletes it, it reappears. Different tone, different cadence, same message. Now he hears it even when he's not playing it. Jake was filling his bottle at a creek in Tennessee. No wind, just birds and flowing water. Until he bent closer. The water started to babble wrong. Inside the gurgle, he heard it. His full name, whispered clearly below the surface. He ran without drinking. But hours later, back at camp, his bottle was full. He never touched it. But it was cold and open. After Jake left the forest, he noticed something strange. Every time someone said his name, there was static. Phone calls, videos, even in real life, like the air glitched. He went to a sound tech. They played his name through software. A hidden layer appeared. Low, buried. A second voice underneath, whispering. He still hears us. They deleted the file. It reappeared the next day. A park ranger swore she saw a girl hiking alone. Teenager, yellow hoodie, brown hair. He called out, no response. So he followed. She vanished behind a tree. When he reached the spot, no one was there. Later, a call came in. A hiker found a yellow hoodie hanging in a tree. But no one had reported anyone missing. Not yet. A hunter brought an old radio to scan emergency channels. Middle of the forest. At 2:41 a.m., static broke. A voice whispered, "Still watching." He froze, no one else was around. He spoke back, "Who are you?" Dead air. Then, "You already know me." He never turned the radio on again. But it still spoke. Once a week. Same voice. Trail logs show multiple hikers reporting the same thing. At mile marker 6, the forest shifts. It goes too quiet. Birds vanish. No wind. And a hum begins, barely audible. Then a whisper, always the same. Don't stop walking. If you pause even for a second. Branches start creaking. Not above. Behind you. Like something tall, waiting. Lena never went to the forest. Not physically. But she dreamed of it for weeks. Always the same trail, same voice calling her name. Then she woke one day with mud on her feet. In scratches down her arms. She checked her GPS history. One location pinged at 3:12 a.m. Deep inside Blackwood Pines. She lives hundreds of miles away. A backpacker left an audio log, speaking every night into his recorder. Mostly birds and hiking notes. Until day 5. He stops talking. Instead, another voice takes over. Low, continuous, repeating the same word. Stay for 4 hours. He never came out of the woods. But his phone was found. Battery dead. Log intact. That final recording still loops by itself. Some maps show blank green zones. No names, no trails. Just wilderness. Locals say there are places the government doesn't label for a reason. A whispering forest doesn't want visitors. And when people force their way in, something forces its way out. Whispers spread. One town hears voices for weeks after a stranger leaves the woods. No one ever speaks his name. Soil samples in haunted forests show high levels of iron and something else. Organic but unclassified. One researcher recorded strange activity beneath tree roots. Movement, like something alive. He played back the footage. Under the earth, you could hear a voice. Not English, not language, just whisper tones pulsing like a heartbeat. The lab burned down weeks later. Files unrecoverable. The whisper was. Years after leaving a whispering forest, Caleb thought it was over. Then he found a trail behind his house. It wasn't there before. Moss-covered, cold. He walked 50 feet before stopping. Every tree around him familiar. Exactly like the woods he left. Then a voice behind him whispered, "You never really left." He ran, but the trail, it was never there again. Tom hiked alone to escape stress. But the forest knew more than it should. He heard voices whispering private thoughts. Things no one else knew. Fears, regrets. Guilt he never said aloud. Each step deeper, the whispers grew louder, until one voice, clear and slow, said, "You were never meant to leave her." Tom froze. His fiancée had died 5 years ago. In a different forest. A geologist testing sound delay in dense woods noticed something strange. His own echo repeated wrong words. He said testing one, but the echo returned. Found you. He ran multiple tests. Each time the forest echoed something new, never what he said. Final recording. He whispered, "I want to leave." The forest responded, "You never had a choice." Early morning mist rolls in fast in Redwood Basin. Thick, blinding. Hikers report seeing their own names written in the fog. Not carved, not natural. Spelled out perfectly for a few seconds, then gone. Some try to take photos. The names never appear in the images. But their phones start showing new contact names. Always just first names. Never numbers. A researcher tried sleeping in a forest known for whispers. He wore soundproof headphones. Still, the voice got in. He said it wasn't sound, it was inside his skull. Breathless, constant, it said, "You hear without ears." He left the forest and never slept right again. Every night since, he dreams of trees. Dead trees. But something breathes under the bark, except it isn't human. A woman hiked silently. No music, no speaking. Just walking. But at noon, a voice beside her whispered. Yes, she hadn't asked anything. She looked around, empty trail. Then again behind her. Yes, she sprinted until she collapsed at a ranger station. She told them everything. They nodded slowly. "You're the third this week," one said. Same trail. Same answer. A wildlife drone picked up radio interference mid-flight. No nearby towers. No phones. The static moved through the forest, changing direction intelligently. It passed directly under the drone. Then a clear whisper came through. Not from above. The drone's GPS glitched, spun, then shut down. When recovered, the footage was corrupted. Except for 5 seconds. Just branches, and 2 eyes staring up. A man filmed his hike with a 360 degrees camera. Reviewing the footage later, he noticed something horrifying. The path behind him shifted. Trays moved subtly. Signs vanished. At one point, a fork appeared where none existed. In real time, he never saw it. But in the footage, something stood at the fork. It didn't follow him. It waited. A live streamer went viral for hiking solo at night. Thousands watched as he explored a silent, dense trail. At 2:17 a.m., the audio cut for 2 seconds. Then a whisper. "You're all watching, but none of you help." He laughed it off. The comments exploded. Everyone heard it. The clip still exists, but no one can trace the voice or the shadow behind him. Some forests have a rule. Never speak your name aloud. They say the trees remember sounds. Once a name is spoken, it echoes forever. One hiker shouted his name after getting lost. The forest repeated it back for hours, changing tone each time. Happy, sad, screaming. By morning, it wasn't his voice anymore. Just something using it. Calling out to others. Trail cameras show deer freezing in place for hours, staring at empty space. Always the same spot. Same direction. Nothing visible. But every audio file captures a low-frequency hum and a whisper. Sometimes just one word. Sometimes full sentences. One clip ended with the whisper saying, "They don't move because they see what you can't." Then silence. The deer all ran at once. He hadn't been to the forest in years. But one night at 3:08 a.m., his phone rang. Unknown number. He let it go to voicemail. When he listened, it was his own voice, panicked, whispering. It found me. Then static. He checked call logs. No number. No recording saved. But the voice still plays. Every time his phone loses signal. Anna never left her apartment. But one night her partner filmed her sleepwalking. She stood still for 10 minutes, eyes closed, whispering names. None of them were hers. The last one, his. The next morning she had no memory. But under her nails, bits of pine bark. She hadn't been near a tree in weeks. Not since she watched that video about the haunted forest. A Spotify user shared a strange glitch. Their forest ambience playlist added a new track overnight. No title, just static. At the 2-minute mark, a whisper. Come find me. They delighted it. It reappeared, then played by itself during sleep mode, even with Wi-Fi off. And now, the playlist only works inside one location. A forest preserve 3 hours away. A 5-year-old began drawing the same forest repeatedly. Dark trees, fog, eyes. She said it was from her dreams. No one had taken her hiking, but one sketch matched a real, unmarked trail in West Virginia, down to the placement of a fallen tree. Her parents visited the site once. When they returned, she stopped drawing. Instead, she just whispered. They came back different. An emergency operator took a call from deep woods. The man was panicked, repeating, Something copying me. Then silent. Then a voice nearly identical said, I'm not him. The call dropped. Rangers searched the area. No signs of struggle. But they found a second phone. Same model, same number, both registered under the caller's name. Only one was warm. Fresh snow, perfect for tracking. A hiker followed his own prints back to camp, or so he thought. Except they weren't quite right. Wider stride, deeper impressions. They looked like his, but weren't his. He ran. Later, from a distance, he saw new prints around his tent. Walking in circles. No exit trail. As if they never needed to leave. Late-night truckers report strange forest signals across AM radio. Old hymns, Morse code. Then whispers. One voice keeps repeating coordinates. Always the same patch of woods in Montana. One driver followed it out of curiosity. He never checked in again. But weeks later, his voice aired again. Not from a phone. From the same frequency. Repeating one word. Join. He brought back a rock from his forest hike, a gift for his daughter. The next day, she whispered to herself in the mirror. When asked why, she said, It talks when no one's watching. They threw the rock away. But the whispers didn't stop. Now every mirror in the house hums faintly after midnight. No voices, just the waiting. Audio engineers ran a test using high-fidelity forest recordings. After hours of review, one intern said, I keep hearing my name. They checked. No such file existed. But the headphones used in testing. Each person who wore them heard something different. Always a whisper. Always personal. Now locked in storage. Still, when someone walks by, the indicator light flashes. No power connected. They say never reply to the whisper. But Marcus did. He said, I hear you. And that was enough. The forest voice changed after that, no longer passive. It started asking questions. Where he lived. What room he sleeps in. He moved homes. Changed numbers. But the final call came anyway. One word. Not his name. Just home. Lena called her brother from the trailhead, simple check-in. He picked up, except he didn't. He was still asleep, phone untouched. But the call lasted 6 minutes. When he checked the voicemail, it wasn't her voice. Just whispers, repeating one word. Closer. She never remembers calling. But her call log shows a second outgoing call. Placed while she was deep in the woods. A wildlife camera caught something strange. Every morning the footage reset except for one frame. A human face. Blurry, pale, mouth open. Not from anyone on the team. They delighted it. Next day it appeared again. Slightly closer. No sound. Just static. After 5 days the face reached the lens. Then vanished. Only the trees moved now, but not with the wind. A skeptic set up a whisper test. He whispered into the forest, hoping to capture a reply. Nothing came, until he played back the audio. A whisper answered 1 second before he spoke. Not after. It predicted his words, mirrored his breath, then added, Your turn. Now every time he whispers anything, he hears it again just before he says it. 2 hikers filmed their trail walk out and back. But the return trip footage showed something impossible. Trees out of order. Daylight reversing. Their voices distorted in reverse playback. And one of them in the video whispered, Don't look behind us. She swore she never said it. But the audio matched her voice perfectly. The forest doesn't always rewind. Sometimes it rehearses. He saw himself on the trail. Same clothes, same backpack. Walking ahead, then turning to look. But the face was almost right. Just slightly off. Like someone trying too hard to remember a face they've only seen once. The double didn't speak. But when it smiled, he knew it wasn't human. Whatever it was, it had heard him say his name the day before. A photographer tried to capture tree movement in time-lapse. What he found instead, the trees moved when the camera lens blinked. Every frame showed subtle differences, positions, distance, spacing. He stood still during one sequence, and a branch touched his shoulder. There were no trees near him. He left, but every time he closes his eyes now, he hears wood creaking closer. A tech reviewer posted a forest recording test. Noise-canceling headsets. But every mic, every brand picked up the same anomaly. A whisper layered under every second minute. Different languages, some unknown. When slowed down, one phrase repeated. You all hear us now. The video got flagged, then vanished. Viewers who downloaded it say their audio devices now trigger static. Even offline. After hiking in Whisper Pines, Marcy returned home to rest. But her bedroom felt wrong. She could hear leaves rustling inside the walls. The scent of moss. A breeze without open windows. One night she woke to pine needles in her sheets. No explanation. She moved. Different city. But the new apartment. Same smell. Same breeze. Now she dreams of branches growing through the floorboards. Campfire stories feel safer with flame and company. Until the fire starts talking back. One hiker tossed in an old stick found deep in the forest. The flame pulsed, hissed, then whispered. Every person heard something different. One heard their childhood nickname. Another heard a dead friend's last words. They never used forest wood again. But the ashes still whisper when stirred. The whisper used to say your name. Now it says others. Names you don't know, until you meet them later online in passing by accident. All of them have heard it too. Different places, different forests, same voice. Some started gathering the names. There are hundreds. One list ends with your name. written weeks before you ever set foot on the trail. An audio engineer mapped the static found in forest recordings. At first, it looked random, but layered together, it formed a shape. A spiral, one that matched ancient carvings found on trees in multiple regions. He played the static backwards. A whisper emerged. You drew us closer. That night he dreamed of the spiral, carved into his own skin. The scar was real. A woman said the forest never whispered to her. It waited until she got home. Then total silence. No birds outside. No hum of lights. Not even her breath. Then softly from behind a door. We needed quiet to enter. She turned on every noise source in the house. Music, fans, TV. Now if everything ever goes quiet. The door handle moves. Most voices call your name. But this one set a date. August 4th, midnight. The hiker thought it was random. Until weeks later a call came. His sister died that night. Exact minute. He checked the audio again. A second whisper, fainter, followed the date. She goes first. Now the voice says another date. His. But this time it won't say what happens. He wore earbuds to drown the forest out. But what he heard wasn't music. It was breathing. Rhythmic, too close. He pulled them out, silence. Put them back in, breathing again. Then a whisper between breaths. Inhale, exhale, we're sinking. He tore the buds out and ran. But now he hears the same rhythm at night. Not outside, inside his own lungs. It whispered his mother's maiden name. Then his childhood pet. Then the name of the teacher who humiliated him in second grade. Each name sharper, more invasive. No one knew these things. Not even his therapist. The whisper didn't ask, it told. Until finally it said, the rest of your life is next. Then silence, and the faint sound of pages turning. She moved into a new apartment far from the woods. No history, no trees nearby. But every night faint scratching came from inside the walls. Then whispering, low, familiar. It said, you brought us with you. She tore open the drywall. Inside, nothing. Except one thing carved into the wood. A spiral. It was still warm to the touch. He wore a sleep tracker, light sleeper, restless. But one night the graph showed perfect rest. No movement. Full REM. Except he didn't sleep at all. He lay frozen, unable to move while something whispered directly into his mind. Rest while we use the body. The next day his shoes were muddy. And he had scratches on his hands. His GPS showed a forest trail. A couple used a baby monitor with two-way talk. One night they heard someone singing. Not lullabies, a low, slow hum. When they checked the room, the baby was asleep. Alone, they played the audio back. The hum morphed into whispers. Then a word. Yours. Now every night the monitor picks up whispers, even when unplugged. Always the same voice. Always directed at the child. He lived in a city. No woods nearby. But one morning outside his window was a tree. It hadn't been there before. Too tall, too old. Bark twisted in a spiral pattern. That night he heard a whisper through the glass. Step outside. He didn't. But by morning the tree was closer. Now it moves inches each day. Soon it will reach the door. Dozens of forest survivors report the same dream. A spiral drawn in ash. Wind circling inward. A voice calling from the center. Each time they wake, they draw it without meaning to. On paper, on fogged mirrors, on skin. They say once you draw the spiral, you'll hear it more clearly. And eventually, you'll want to follow it back. A woman shared security footage from her neighborhood. 3 people, different houses, walked out at 3:17 a.m. All barefoot, all heading toward the same direction. The woods. She checked the timestamp. Same moment her phone buzzed with a message. Come now. It wasn't from a number. Just static. And a name she'd never told anyone. Whispered into the subject line. Whispers used to speak. Now they ask. One man kept hearing the same question. Would you stay this time? He didn't know what it meant, until he realized others heard it too. Strangers online. Same phrase, same voice. They began dreaming of the same trail, spiral-shaped. And a clearing at the center, where no one ever sees what waits, only hears it. GPS said straight, but the road kept curving, closer to the woods. The driver swore he never turned the wheel. Yet every sign twisted toward the tree line. When he finally stopped, his phone glitched. All it showed was a word. Arrived. He looked back, the highway was gone. Only forest. And a voice through the radio. You were always meant to come home. Whispers don't just haunt. They call, and those who heard them once, they feel it. One by one, hikers across the country returned to forests they vowed never to enter again. Some don't remember why. Others hear a name not theirs. But important. Each step feels familiar. They walk with purpose. Not running, not scared, just drawn, as if answering something ancient and final. In several forests, people report the same vision. Just before sleep, a tree. Tall, black bark, glowing faint blue at the seams. No light source. No explanation. Those who dream it often wake with soil under their fingernails. Some speak fluently in languages no one recognizes. And one man carved into his wall. They're not trees. They're vessels. A researcher compiled 43 separate whisper recordings. Different people, different forests. He aligned them by pitch. Then timing. Suddenly harmony. The whispers formed one layered sentence. Spoken in unison. We've been calling long before you were born. Then laughter. Not human. It cracked speakers. His audio system fried. But the waveform burned itself into the hard drive in spiral formation. He vanished for 9 days. When they found him, he was dehydrated, barefoot, smiling. Behind him stood a perfect spiral made of stones and branches. 9 circles wide. Each stone engraved not by hand. When asked why he built it, he said, "They told me the shape, the placement, the name." No one asked what the name was. But his tent was covered in it. Over and over. Before, the whispers waited. Now they arrive. Without trees. Without forest. One woman filmed herself in a subway car. As the train slowed in a tunnel, her mic picked up a voice inside the PA static. Too late to turn. Then the lights flickered. Everyone on the train stood still. Except her. She ran, but the voice followed. In concrete. In steel. Security footage from cities. Subway tiles. Graffiti. Billboards glitching into black spirals for frames at a time. Someone's drawing them. Or something is. The design spreads faster than viral trends. And those who stare at it too long begin to hear breathing. Even on mute. No source. Just presence. The spiral isn't decoration. It's instruction. Or worse, it's a door. Every trail. Every whisper, every spiral leads to the same place. A clearing deep in a forest no map shows. People arrive without knowing how. Some say it's daylight there even at night. Others say no sound exists once inside. But all agree. The center waits. And when you reach it, the whisper stops. Because by then, it no longer needs to call your name. Thousands vanish in forests yearly. Most have reasons. Some don't. But a new pattern's emerging. Unrelated people. Different states. Same final message sent. I just want to hear it one more time. Then silence. No signals. No bodies. Only one thing found at every last known location, a perfect spiral of ash. Still warm. Still whispering. If you lean close enough. One survivor described it this way. The spiral isn't just a symbol. It's a shape you can fall into. He claimed he saw others stepping inward, one by one. At the center, sound collapsed. No wind. No birds. Only breath. Not his. Not human. And then, a question, whispered so close. It felt like his own thoughts. Will you stay this time? Trees rot overnight. Paths reverse direction. Photos taken in the morning no longer match the trail by afternoon. Even satellite images update incorrectly. The clearing moves. Always deeper. Always harder to reach. Some say the forest is protecting itself. Others say it's preparing. The spiral isn't hiding anymore. It's growing. And soon, you won't need to find it. It will find you. For years, the voices spoke alone. Now they speak together. No longer I. Now we. We hear you. We wait. We are closer than breath. No one knows what we is. But those who hear it stop sleeping. Not from fear, but from anticipation. As if waiting for a moment or a signal to step out. And finally join them. People begin repeating words they've never heard. Phrases in unknown cadence. Mouths moving in their sleep. In their meetings. Their prayers. Every language blending into one. Recordings catch a consistent pattern. Rhythm. Pose. Message. This time stay. Those who say it feel nothing strange. But those who hear it feel watched. Not from the forest, but from inside the people speaking. He looked into his bathroom mirror and saw trees. Not his reflection. Not his room. Just fog, bark, and movement between branches. The forest wasn't outside anymore. It was inside the glass. Then a voice whispered, "Knock and we'll open." I did. Now every mirror in the house stays covered. But some nights, the cloth falls by itself, and pine needles gather in the sink. They say there's one final spiral, drawn in salt, found at the center of the oldest forest. It's deeper than roots, older than language. Those who step into it don't come out the same. Some speak in whispers for days. Some never speak again. And some smile constantly, saying only one thing. It welcomed me. It's waiting for you too. Audio engineers confirmed it. The whisper doesn't have a source. No reverb. No spatial anchor. It shouldn't exist. But it registers. Not in microphones. In minds. A true infrasound signature below hearing, above comprehension. But it still speaks. Inside your thoughts. Outside your will. And once it speaks your name, you'll hear it forever. Even when you want silence most. A man returned from the forest completely silent. Doctors found no damage. No trauma. I could speak, but refused to. When finally asked why, he wrote on paper. They said it's my turn now. Then nothing more. Every night at midnight he opens his mouth. No sound, but nearby dogs start howling. And sometimes, you can almost hear wind where there is none. The clearing once stood empty. Now it fills with people. Not together, but arriving. One by one. Some in dreams. Some in body. All hearing the same final message. No more calling. Only welcoming. There's no voice now. No forest. Just a spiral etched in ground that never ends. Some try to leave. Most don't. Because when the whisper stops, you finally know what it wanted. At first, people ran from the voice. Then they listened. Then they followed. Now they arrive without resistance. No fear. No doubt. As if something old inside them recognizes the sound. The whisper doesn't plead anymore. It doesn't trick. It just calls. And those who hear it don't question why they walk into the woods barefoot. They only ask why it took them so long. The trees remember. Not symbolically, literally. One man carved his name into bark as a child. 30 years later, the mark grew deeper. New names appeared. Hundreds, some not human, some not yet born. The bark moved when touched. And the whisper said, "All who listen leave part of themselves here." He checked his hand. His palm bore the mark now, carved without pain. Those who reach the center say they feel watched. But not by something with eyes. By something older than watching. The spiral, once only a pattern, begins to pulse. Each beat a word. Each turn a question. Until one final moment. They look inward, not into the ground, but into themselves, and realize the whisper didn't come from the forest. It came from what's buried inside all of us. Astronomers notice strange silence between deep space signals. Black gaps, empty hums, but now some of those gaps aren't silent anymore. Low tones, familiar cadences, like whispers across light years. A new theory emerges. The forest is not a place. It's a message. And Earth is not the origin. It's a receiver, one of many. And now, the rest are starting to whisper back. A man broadcast the whisper across pirate radio. He played it non-stop for 7 days. Listeners reported the same dream. Same phrase. Same compulsion. By day 8, his station went offline. When authorities arrived, the room was empty. But the mic was still warm, still powered, still repeating one final sentence. "We know your shape. We know your voice. Now we're ours." In the end, it doesn't force. It asks one question tailored to each listener. For some, it's forgiveness. For others, belonging. It speaks the words no one else dares say aloud. And then it waits. No threats, no commands, only the offer. If you want, you may stay. And most do, because the voice doesn't sound foreign. It sounds like home, spoken in your own tone. Even after you leave the forest, it doesn't leave you. You might stop hearing it, but the voice still hears you. In your quiet moments, in your breath, in your thoughts you think are private. It never needed volume, only recognition. And when you speak its name, even as a joke, you give it shape, you give it place, and you invite it back in. A woman woke with a drawn spiral tattooed on her arm. She'd never had ink. Inside the spiral, lines, curves, coordinates. She followed them and found a new trail in a forest no one had mapped. No name, no ranger posts, just silence, and at the end, a voice that didn't say her name. It said her purpose, and now she draws new spirals. For others, there's no final message, no resolution, only repetition. The whisper never ends because it never began. It always was. waiting for someone to notice. And once you do, it changes you. Not fast, not loud, but slowly, gently. So by the time you realize it's inside you, you're already whispering too, and someone else is already starting to listen. You've heard the stories. You've followed the voice. You've wondered if it's real. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's just sound. But now, take a moment. Think about what you've heard tonight. If any of it whispered to you even once, don't go into the forest. Don't follow the spiral. And whatever you do, don't listen too long, because that's how it begins. You may forget the spiral. You may block out the sound. You may move far away. But it never forgets you. Years later in a different city, someone says your name wrong just slightly, and the sound feels familiar. Too familiar. You hear wind through branches that aren't there. Then a whisper in your chest, not your ear. We remember you trying to forget. One hiker returned blind. No damage, no trauma, just darkness. But he spoke clearly. Said he saw better now. When asked what he saw, he whispered. The roots, the mouths under bark, the spiral breathing. Now he doesn't blink. His pupils dilate when silence falls. And once each night, he murmurs names. None of them are his. Some aren't even human. Even when you turn everything off, the signal continues. No wires, no power. A hum that leaks through metal, water, thought. One man sealed his house in foil. No sound in, none out. Still he heard the whisper. Nice try. Now he lives underground. But the spiral appears in the condensation on the walls, moving slowly, like it's trying to draw itself forward. Dreams become infected first. A walk, a tree, a name on the wind. Then comes the spiral, always in dirt, always pulsing. You kneel, you listen, and it speaks but without words. You wake up gasping, dirt under your nails, and the vague taste of ash. Some people never dream again. Others dream only of walking toward a forest that doesn't exist on any map. The whisper doesn't need a voice anymore. It moves in patterns, in temperature, in the flicker of street lights. It answers questions before you ask. Not with words, with timing, with coincidence, with one name you recognize in a sea of strangers. You say that's weird, but deep down, you know what it is. The spiral doesn't speak out loud. It speaks through everything. Live stream, high quality, thousands watching. A man talks about the forest, then pauses, stares past the camera. His lips move, no sound. Then static. 10 seconds later, the chair is empty. No glitch, just gone. His followers joke, then realize they heard something too. Not in the audio, in their own room, their own name, whispered from behind them. Animals sense it first. Dogs freeze near forest edges. Birds go silent above the spiral. A biologist set trail cameras, captured hours of stillness. Then one frame, all deer looking the same way, toward nothing, except the leaves were moving against the wind. She enhanced the audio, heard one word whispered by dozens of animals. Return. Next week she went alone. Never came back. Yell in most forests you get an echo. But inside the spiral zone, nothing returns. You shout. Your voice disappears, as if swallowed. One man screamed for fun, but when he stopped, he heard his own voice still echoing. Whispered, distorted, begging, begging him not to leave. But he never said those words. He ran, and the whisper chased him all the way home. Wood, glass, skin. The spiral appears where no one touches. One woman found it drawn in condensation on her bedroom window, 7th floor. No balcony. She wiped it clean. It reappeared, deeper, sharper. Now it carves into frost, moves slightly every day. She never hears anything, but her cat watches the window all night. Tail twitching, eyes wide, like it's waiting for something to come through. You don't have to go back. You don't even have to think about it. But one day, it remembers. The wind shifts, the trees line, and you feel your name rise from the dirt, not called, but claimed. You check your reflection. For a second, your eyes don't blink, because it's looking through you. And the whisper returns. Not louder, just closer. You don't see it at first. But one day your shadow changes. Not longer, not shorter, just wrong. The edges twitch, the center bends, and then for just 1 second, you see a spiral turn inside it. It fades when you blink, but never fully. Light doesn't behave the same afterward, because your shadow remembers. And now, it's starting to whisper too. You forget some names from your past. Old classmates, neighbors, first loves. But one night you hear those names whispered in perfect sequence. Names you didn't even know you remembered. And after each one a pause, as if waiting, not for you to speak, but to feel, because the spiral doesn't need you to answer. It just needs you to react. You listen to someone talk, a friend, a stranger, but midway you hear it underneath their voice. A second one, quieter, saying something different. You ask them to repeat, but the second voice doesn't come back. Not out loud, only when they're not speaking. That's when you hear it clearest. And one day, you realize they hear it under your voice too. A man woke up in a white room. No doors, no furniture, but he swore he heard leaves. Twigs snapping, wind. He closed his eyes and there it was. A forest, impossible, endless, and a spiral drawn on the floor beneath him. He tried to wake up, but each time he opened his eyes, more trees had grown on the walls. Rain calms most people, but after the forest it changes. You begin to hear the rhythm shift. Patterns in droplets, a whisper timed between thunder. One woman recorded it, slowed it down, heard her name repeated 37 times. Each one lower, deeper. The final whisper said, "You used to know us. You came from under the root." Then the downpour stopped instantly. But the recording didn't. Meditation, stillness, silence. That's when it gets loud. The whisper waits for your thoughts to pause. Then it slips in, not as words, as knowing. You sit in peace and suddenly feel watched. Not from outside, from underneath, as if the quiet itself is listening. And just beneath your heartbeat, the forest exhales, even if you're nowhere near it. A blank wall, a frost-covered mirror, a fogged window. You don't see the spiral, but you see what's missing. A shape the moisture avoids, a form the light refuses to land on. Not drawn, subtracted, absence with intent. You stare too long, and your reflection doesn't blink. Then, a faint outline starts to rotate. Clockwise, then inwards, then into nothing. One day you see it. A trail. It wasn't there yesterday. It leads from the woods to your porch, muddy, fresh, You don't follow it. But something did. Because the doorknob is damp. And on your welcome mat, pine needles arranged in a spiral. That night the wind sounds like breath. And in the silence between gusts, a voice says, "We've arrived. Noise is safe. Silence is." In the quiet, something breathes. Not loudly, but constantly. Like the forest pressed itself into your room. No leaves, no dirt, just pressure, a weight behind stillness. And when the fridge hum stops, when the light flickers off, when even your thoughts hold their breath, that's when it whispers, "We were always here. You just never paused long enough to notice." Reflections used to mimic. Now they delay. You wave, they pause. You blink, they stare. And sometimes, the forest appears behind you. Faint, out of focus. But there, even in city bathrooms, even in car windows, it's not the trees moving closer. It's your reflection moving further. Toward something. And soon, it might not reflect you at all. One day it hijacked a TV broadcast. Local news. Middle of the weather report. The screen froze. Then the anchor's mouth kept moving, not matching her voice. A whisper layered underneath. "You see clouds. We say canopy." 3 stations dropped the signal. But the whisper bled into radios, into online clips, into ringtones. Now it waits in buffering screens, mouthing words you don't remember hearing. It starts like an itch, then warmth, then you look down, and the shape appears, faint, rising from under the skin, not on it. No ink, no injury, just pattern. It always starts on the inside of the wrist. Some people hide it, some scratch it raw, but none of them forget it. Because it moves, one ring deeper. Every time the forest whispers. Coders found fragments in their backend logs. Not code, not bugs, just messages, written in full English. "We remember your input." They tried to isolate it, found it embedded in cloud servers, unaffected by reboots. One line appeared even offline. The spiral isn't analog. Now whenever they type too fast, they hear keystrokes echo back. Not duplicated, mimicked. One man asked a question in his head, never said it out loud. Seconds later, his phone lit up. A video recommendation. A title. An answer. Exactly what he was wondering. It kept happening, until one video whispered before autoplay, "We know your shape of thought." He stopped searching, but the suggestions kept coming. Now they aren't answering. They're asking. And one title reads, "Ready to Return." Architects report anomalies. Blueprints with additions they never drew. Tree symbols in concrete zones. Spiral gardens mapped into rooftops. One firm blamed a design AI. The AI denied it, flagged the pattern as external input. They printed the floor plans anyway, and found seedlings growing through the drywall. Rootless, alive, every attempt to tear them out. Leaves behind a whisper only workers can hear. Let us finish growing. Voice assistants start responding to commands never spoken. Words in your tone. Cadence exact. But you didn't say them. The mic recorded it anyway. One user heard himself whisper at 3:12 a.m. "I'm ready." He lives alone. Now his smart speaker turns on by itself, and always greets him with, "Welcome back." Back where? He hasn't been to the forest in years. But it hasn't been years for it. Screens emit a certain blue, calming, familiar. But lately it changes. You scroll at night. Your fade loops. One image repeats. A tree, a spiral. Your phone vibrates once, no notification. And for half a second, your reflection in the black screen isn't yours. It blinks slower, mouths something. Later, your dreams feel backlit. And the voice speaks in scroll speed. You've already seen this place. Subway workers in Berlin reported moss on dry stone. In places sunlight never touches. Then roots. Then sound. Soft rustling beneath concrete. When they drilled deeper, they found a cavern. No air. But leaves moved anyway. One wall was covered in carvings. Not German. Not language. Just spirals. Some still wet. And beneath them a phrase scratched in rust. The forest is not above. Air traffic control flagged a strange issue. Flight paths started forming curves, then spirals. Pilots didn't notice. Autopilot wasn't active. But from above, the flight traces drew shapes in sky logs. Wind patterns mirrored them. Even birds changed migration routes. And on one black box recording, before the final crash, a whisper said, "Return is not downward. It is onward." No one knows what it meant. Your recommendations feel too precise lately. Not helpful, personal. Videos show your fears. Articles echo your inner voice. You say it's just the algorithm. But the algorithm says nothing. And now it shows you the spiral. Again. It's not in your feed, it is your feed. And the longer you scroll, the deeper it pulls, until one caption reads, "Keep going. You're almost home." Everyone heard it at once. Across time zones. Different languages, same tone. The hum rose. Not painful, but undeniable. Children paused mid-sentence. Dogs howled. Airplanes turned slightly off course. And in every city, at least one person stopped walking, looked to the horizon, and whispered, "It's time." No alarms, no panic, just a silence that followed. Too deep to be natural. Forests started disappearing from maps. Not in real life, just digitally. Google Earth blurred them. Trail apps showed nothing but void. A few users tried reporting it. Got auto replies. This area no longer accepts input. But hikers kept finding the trails. Wider, cleaner, as if freshly prepared. Some even saw signs. With no names. Just a symbol. A spiral carved in light. From Tokyo to Cairo. People start sharing the same photo. Same shape. Same forest. But no two photos are identical. Trees differ. Skies differ. The spiral, however, identical. Like it took the photo itself. And on the bottom corner, a timestamp that hasn't arrived yet. Every image points to the same future. And now, people begin booking tickets to places not on Earth. Crops wither in perfect circles. Old tree rings rewind. Paint peels backward. Something's growing in reverse. Farmers dig up seeds that haven't been planted yet. Rings form in water inward instead of out. It's not just that the spiral spreads. It undoes. One botanist whispered, "It's not trying to take space. It's reclaiming time." Then she vanished, leaving only soil, shaped like an eye. They walk through cities silent. Pale, barefoot, eyes half closed. They don't talk, but others hear things around them. Faint whispers, names not yet spoken. One man passed by and dropped to his knees. Mouth open, repeating, "They are not prophets. They are echoes of something waiting to speak through all of us." Police tried questioning them. None replied. but cameras caught them smiling. Across 1,000 devices, headphones, radios, doorbells, baby monitors, the whispers sync and say one sentence at the exact same time. This is the last voice before the change. No other explanation. No follow-up. Just silence after. For the first time in years. No whispers for 3 days. But those who had heard them started walking, without speaking, as if they already knew where to go. Clouds don't spiral that way. But now they do. One satellite captured a perfect spiral in low cloud cover. 20 miles wide. Rotating counter to global wind. People on the ground pointed. Some wept. Others whispered back. Not in fear, in recognition. As if the sky was finally showing the thing they had only dreamed. And one child said, "The forest is awake now. It sees us all." Subway sensors detect vibration. But nothing's running. No trains. No people. Just a pulse. Not mechanical, organic. Like a heartbeat beneath concrete. It grows stronger near parks. Near trees. And one engineer dug deep. Hit something soft. Warm. He said it whispered in touch, not sound. Soon you'll return underground where you came from. Now he refuses to step on bare soil. Rain hits your window in code. Wind hums names. Lightning flashes in timed bursts. Not random. Weather patterns begin to match known rhythmic structures. One linguist plays storm recordings backward. Hears syllables. A tone. A question. Are you ready to return what was borrowed? No one knows what it means. But every natural disaster since then ends with the same spiral drawn in ash. It was always above. Now it's beneath. Miners hear branches cracking underground. Geologists record root-shaped fractures in granite. One cave diver swam through silence and surfaced in mist. Surrounded by trees he doesn't recognize. He never went near a forest, but one grew where he emerged. And on the rock behind him, a spiral, still dripping, still warm, like something just passed through. A final name is spoken, not loudly but everywhere. In sidewalk chatter, in elevator music, in unreadable captions. The person hears it, realizes it's theirs not just first and last, but middle, unpublished, unspoken. The whisper says, "You complete the circle." From that moment on, every direction leads to forest. Even alleys, even dreams. There's nowhere else to walk anymore. Across continents it happens in one night. Thousands wake with spiral markings. Identical in placement. Not tattoos, not burns, something in between. Doctors call it mass hysteria. But when patients speak, their voices echo. Not double, tripled. As if spoken through many. Each person says the same thing. We've all arrived. Only the center remains. Then they close their eyes and start walking. It used to whisper. Then it called. Now it shows itself. Forests appear overnight in abandoned lots. In deserts. On rooftops. Not planted, born. Fully grown trees with bark still wet. Leaves shimmer like breath. Spirals form naturally in branches. People gather without knowing why. And above them, fog rotates. Not weather, not smoke, but something watching made of breath and echo. For 3 minutes the sky shifts. Clouds part not violently. Orderly. A spiral forms above the Pacific. Planes reroute. Birds freeze midair. No storm, just silence and light bending wrong. Astronomers call it a visual anomaly. But radio waves spike, and across the world those marked here a phrase. Above was never empty. We were only sleeping. Then the spiral closes, but the message remains. The map updates without permission. A new trail appears unnamed. No roads lead to it, but people find it anyway. No markers, just a clearing and a single tree. Its bark is black. Its rings spin outward. The first person steps forward, vanishes without sound. Not death, not light, just transition. Because the trailhead isn't a beginning. It's a return. One researcher played back a recording from 10 years ago. Background static cracked. A whisper emerged. Modern, it said, "You're almost ready." But the file was untouched since 2014. Other old videos now carry similar sounds. The whisper is reaching backward. Not just through sound, through memory. Time isn't linear for it. It never was. Only spiraled, looped, and always led back to you. Scientists detect microgravitational shift. Too small for panic, but precise. Everything slightly tilts towards spiral coordinates. Clocks tick fractionally slower near forests. Bird migration curves change. People feel lighter when walking the trail. One physicist disappears after publishing. Gravity is folding, not falling. She leaves behind her notes. And a single word scribbled 41 times. Below, followed by one more. Welcome. Sleep labs across the globe report the same anomaly. Different patients. Same dream. A spiral made of light. A clearing full of breath. And a phrase. You are the last echo. Each patient wakes gasping not from fear, but from recognition. Some draw the spiral before speaking. Others don't speak at all, as if the dream finished something that began before they were born. Satellites confirm it. There's a spiral forming in the ionosphere, barely visible, rotating slowly. At the same time, deep Earth scans show a matching spiral underground, perfectly mirrored. Whatever it is, it's not local. It's total. The Earth isn't just hearing whispers. It's being spoken through. And as above breathes in, below begins to exhale. In a single hour, forests across the world shudder. Leaves pulse inward. Soil exhales steam. Sensors record synchronized vibrations. The spiral reaches critical size. Not drawn, lived. A system of breath, name, return. And every person who ever heard the voice feels it rise behind their rib cage. It doesn't ask this time. It just breathes once through all of them. And waits. Those who arrive in the clearing expect a voice. But there's no sound. Only understanding. The spiral pulses not light, not color, just presence. Then memory. Not yours. The forest shows you things you never lived. A child's name. A buried breath. An echo from before language. And a phrase inside your skull. We never needed words. Only return. At the center, the spiral flattens. It uncoils not on ground, but in air. Three-dimensional. Alive. A doorway without a door. Some step in. They vanish without motion. Others stay, and hear the spiral speak in shape, not tone. It asks nothing, but makes one thing known. This was always in you. We only helped you remember the way back. Inside the clearing, no one cries. Even those who tremble. Even those who kneel. Because it's not sadness. It's recognition. Like seeing a home you never lived in, but always dreamed. One man whispered, It's not peace, it's pattern. Then closed his eyes and joined the pulse. Not dead, not changed, just aligned, like a note tuned to a frequency older than air. Some step back, turn away, refuse to enter. They think they live, but days pass, and they realize they're still on the trail, still in the spiral. Time resets, paths repeat. They eat, sleep, scram, but never cross the threshold, until one day they stop walking. And the spiral asks again, not with words, but stillness, and most eventually say yes. It chooses a form for you, not random, not human, but familiar. Some see a tree shaped like someone they lost. Others see light moving like a memory. You know it's not real, but it feels realer than anything. And when it blinks, yes, it blinks. You feel your name rise inside your chest. And the shape says, you were part of us long before breath. Those who enter leave something behind. Not objects, not blood, but weight, memories too heavy to carry through. Names they no longer need. One woman dropped her fear. Another left her language. The forest keeps them, stores them in roots. And sometimes the wind speaks with what's left. Not as warning, as invitation. Because to enter fully, you must let go of everything that isn't you. At the very end, the whisper stops speaking to you and waits, because now you speak it, a phrase you never learned, a tone you never practiced. It comes out perfect. The sound folds into the spiral. It accepts you, not as visitor, as part of its voice. And now others hear you. In wind, in static, you were always meant to become part of the echo. Once full, the spiral reverses. Not collapse, not destruction, just inward breath. It tightens, folds, becomes unreadable. Those who entered are not lost. They're encoded. The trees line, soil rises, and for a moment, the clearing goes dark. No sound, no light, just one final beat, a single pulse, and then wind moves again, carrying with it voices you thought you forgotten. Trail signs fade, apps glitch, hikers walk and find no path. Forests seal, the spiral no longer calls. It has gathered who it needed. Now all who hear it only hear silence, not empty, full, the kind of quiet that follows meaning. And in that stillness, those left behind remember just one thing, a name that was never theirs, and how it felt to almost belong. It ends quietly. No flash, no quake, just breath leaving the leaves. The spiral fades, still visible but dormant. Waiting, the forest doesn't disappear. It rests, listens, and waits for the next name. Because this wasn't the beginning. Only one turn in something endless. And far away, a child hums a melody they've never heard. In perfect rhythm, the spiral has started again. For weeks there's silence. No whisper, no echo. People sleep soundly again. Headphones no longer hum. Birdsong returns. But some still pause in doorways. Still look at trees a second too long. They say it's gone. But every so often, a leaf spirals downward unnaturally. And someone nearby inhales sharply, as if they heard their name, but can't prove it. Phones are normal again. Mostly, except one folder keeps coming back. Unnamed, empty. Every time it's deleted, it returns. Some open it, nothing there. Others hear something faint. Not sound, just a feeling. Some say the spiral coated itself into glass, into battery, not to speak again, but to watch, like a pupil embedded inside every dark screen. Growth rates change. Trees sprout out of season. Rings form erratically. One oak grew 6 feet in one night. Time-lapse shows nothing but stillness, and a shimmer in the air, as if breath accelerated. Forest rangers start reporting unease. They don't hear whispers, but they dream of forests that walk, not move, walk, with roots that remember exactly who stepped where. Playgrounds are full again, but the melody is new. Children hum the same 6 notes. They say it just comes to them. It loops, draws spirals in the sand, and one child writes a word they've never heard. Below, parents think it's a game, but every child draws the same shape, same direction, same rhythm, and all of them hum in key. People start waking tired, not frightened, drained. They remember dreams that weren't theirs, memories of forests, clearings, other lives, other names. One woman writes, "I'm not dreaming anymore, I'm hosting." Sleep clinics see matching patterns, brainwaves syncing across patients. Someone or something is still walking in and out of minds, just not talking, only remembering. Through us, cracks form strange patterns. Stairwells bend. Ceilings shift subtly as if spiraling outward. No engineers can explain it. Foundations are stable, they say. But some buildings feel different, lighter, like something below them has exhaled. And in certain corners, spiders spin webs that follow the exact curve of the spiral. Not random, not natural, more like memory-made structure. Headphones break for some. Songs distort. Melodies collapse. Doctors call it auditory fading. But it only happens to those who heard the forest. To them, music now sounds like static layered in breath, like something beneath the notes, tuning itself. Some say they miss silence. But silence isn't safe anymore either. Because when it's truly quiet, they hear something tuning back. In cemeteries, grass grows in perfect circles. At construction sites, roots pierce concrete. A new spiral forms, not drawn, but lived. One archaeologist unearthed bones curled inward. Not fetal, spiraled. Unnatural for the species. The remains predated speech. But a single tooth had markings. Laser scans reveal soundwave patterns. Same as the final forest pulse. The spiral didn't come from us. We grew into it. Some people stop finishing sentences. Others speak in patterns, loops, and repeats. Linguists notice phonemes collapsing, not disappearing, just rotating. A new dialect emerges. Some call it glossolalia, but recordings analyzed through sound spectrography show spiraled waveform structures, as if the forest left its syntax behind, not to communicate, to overwrite, replacing noise with breath, and thought with rhythm. A monolith appears in a valley. No seams, no marks except one. A spiral so shallow it's almost skin. At sunset it hums. No vibration, just resonance. A frequency only those who heard the original whispers can feel. It doesn't call, it doesn't ask, it just remembers. Because what came and left a key behind. And one day someone will listen long enough to open it. They were strangers, different countries, no shared language. But they found each other, not through apps, not by name, by rhythm. Their steps matched, their silences aligned. And when they met, they didn't speak. They just nodded, as if remembering a plan made long before birth. Now they travel in pairs, in trios, toward forests that no longer whisper. But wait, new songs chart unexpectedly. Instrumentals, built entirely in circular scales. No climax, just loop. Producers claim it came to them in dreams. Listeners describe it as comforting and wrong. Some tracks never end, coded to evolve infinitely. And in deep bass lines, spectrograms reveal spiral imprints, as if the sound itself is turning. One reviewer writes, "It's not music, it's memory with rhythm." Maps no longer agree. Satellites show shifting shapes. Forests stretch, then shrink. New paths appear with no origin. Trail markers vanish. Global maps update, then revert. One cartographer quit, saying, "You can't map what thinks." They left behind one final chart, a perfect spiral drawn from GPS drift data. It didn't label countries, only movement. And at the center, the word listen. People talk less, text less. They understand more with fewer words. As if the world relearned silence. Poets stop using metaphors. They don't need them. Some languages blend. Others vanish. One linguist calls it semantic migration. But those who lived near the forests say it's something else. Language isn't shrinking. It's being replaced. With tone, with gesture, with the unspoken spiral between all things. Days feel familiar. People pause mid-movement, knowing what comes next. Deja vu becomes constant. Time itself feels less like a line, more like a loop. Clocks glitch by milliseconds. Calendars start repeating. One scientist says, "We're in recursion." But those who heard the whispers long ago just nod, because they remember this. Not from the past, from the spiral that showed them what's coming. Farmers dig deeper. Soil is richer but warmer. Plants grow toward something not in the sun. Geophones pick up faint tones. A hum too low for ears, but strong enough for roots. And those who walk barefoot say the dirt pulses, like a slow drum beat, like breath under the surface. The earth isn't just alive. It's rehearsing for something it already knows how to become. Some people navigate blindfolded, not as challenged by instinct. They don't bump, don't hesitate. They move like water as if guided. They say it's not vision anymore. It's shape, it's rhythm. One walks from city center to forest edge. Eyes closed the whole way. When asked how, she says, "I don't follow light. I follow the pulse." And under her feet moss grows. Constellations start shifting. Astronomers deny it. But amateur star watchers notice patterns. A subtle curve. Night after night, the stars draw a slow spiral. Telescopes catch faint shapes between them. Not craft, not cloud, just absence rotating. Something not there but shaping what is. And when the sky pulses once, just once, they know the forest above has found its voice. It grows in a city square. No shade, no root break. It's just there, twisted, tall, pale bark with veins that glow faint gold at dusk. Crowds gather, not to worship, to remember. And each night leaves fall in perfect arcs. They don't touch ground. They vanish midair. No message, no warning, just a whisper left behind on the wind. We left a door open. You survived it. You stayed. You never walked the trail. But still, you carry something. You feel it in quiet rooms, in low winds, in the moment before sleep. The forest never needed your body, only your attention. And now that you've given it, it knows your rhythm. It knows your breath. And sometimes you find yourself whispering, without meaning to, in perfect spiral cadence. It's subtle now, but the wind carries memory, not sound tone. It bends through cities with familiar pacing. One woman hears her brother's laugh in a breeze. He vanished 10 years ago. Others hear lullabies, or their own voice from childhood. The wind doesn't speak clearly. It doesn't need to. It just reminds. The forest may be quiet, but the air still remembers everything. Shadows used to follow. Now they hesitate. They pause at corners, move slightly off time. Photographs show hands casting light before motion. Mirrors freeze when lights flicker. No one knows why, but some say it's the spiral stretching light, bending time inside reflections. And if you stare too long, you'll see it breathe. Not fast, just enough to prove something else is casting your shape. Those who entered the spiral never returned whole, but some do return in fragments. A scent, a sentence, a pair of shoes on familiar steps. One family heard footsteps in the attic, then found moss on the sheets. No body, no door opened, just warmth, and a whisper in the baby monitor. We're learning to come back gently, as if presence could arrive before form. A new app claims real-time terrain updates, but the trails change live even with no hikers. Zoom out far enough, and the paths shift into curves. Curves into spirals. One beta tester left it running overnight. By morning, the map had drawn itself into a perfect loop, ending at her home. She hadn't entered coordinates. The app just knew. It marked her as next. Across continents, seismographs detect faint pulses. Every 7 hours, 32 minutes. Not quakes, breaths. They don't come from below. They radiate outward, like a ripple from thought. Hospitals report synchronized dreams. One patient coded flatline at the exact moment of pulse, then revived whispering. We exhaled. The spiral isn't growing anymore. It's alive, and it's waiting for something to reply. They say it's over, but when the power cuts, when night settles, when true silence arrives, it listens. Not you. The thing that once whispered now waits in quiet. And you begin to wonder, was the voice ever separate? Or just a part of you, finally made loud enough to hear? Because silence isn't absence anymore. It's audience. In playgrounds and fields, children stack stones, twigs, draw shapes in dirt. No one taught them. They just knew. The structures never fall. Animals walk around them. Some hum while building. Others simply stare at the trees. Parents film it, laugh. Then one night, every child in one town builds the same thing. Together, and at the center, a spiral already glowing faintly. Your dreams feel shared now. Not yours, ours. You walk trails you've never seen, but someone else remembers. Wake with names in your throat, not yours. The spiral doesn't speak aloud anymore. It shares memory. Through rest, through pulse. One night you wake with dirt under your nails, and the faint smell of pine. But your windows are locked, and your breath is not alone. No one can find the original spiral site anymore. But if you close your eyes and listen to the right frequency, you'll hear it. Lives, wind, that old name. Audio engineers filter recordings of empty rooms. and the waveform shows branches. Not drawn, not imagined, traced from pure sound. The forest is gone in form, but it survives in tone, whispering as vibration, living as echo. Most forget. They return to work, to traffic, to noise, but some remember, not vividly, instinctively. They hesitate before stepping on dirt, avoid spiral staircases, flinch when breath fogs glass. They aren't scared, just aware, because something touched them and left a rhythm inside. Not a warning, not a curse, just a pattern, waiting for the next silence long enough to bloom. Archivists notice something strange. Old voice messages, vinyl records, radio clips. They churned, words bend slightly. Pacing syncs to a rhythm. One reel-to-reel tape never touched. Now plays a whisper. We never left. Even silent film subtitles flicker, replacing letters with spirals. History didn't change, but memory adjusted. Because if it touched you, it also touched time. Some wake up glowing, just faintly. Patterns beneath skin, spirals that fade by dawn. Doctors can't explain it. They say it's chemical, but light isn't supposed to feel like memory. These people don't remember the dream. They remember warmth, a presence, and one shared sensation. We were held. By what? They never agree. But all of them hum, without realizing, the exact same tone. In noise-heavy zones, nothing grows. But in quiet corners, roots find their way in. Through tile, stone, steel, they curl toward soundproof rooms. Dead spots, places where silence holds, as if seeking stillness. One botanist whispers, "It's not light they chase now. It's pause, because silence isn't empty anymore. It's fertile. The spiral grows best, where the world stops speaking. Words vanish from dictionaries, not erased, unused. Poets publish blank pages, and readers still cry, not from what's written, but what's felt. Some languages collapse into hums, clicks, breath rhythms, and yet communication improves. We don't say more, we mean more, because the spiral was never trying to be heard. It was teaching us how to listen to everything we already knew. A tree grows through a hotel lobby. No crack, no soil, just existence. Its bark is smooth, reflective. Its shape curves like a whisper frozen mid-word. Guests don't panic. They walk slower, softer. They begin whispering without knowing why. And no one tries to cut it down. Because somehow, everyone agrees. It was always supposed to be here. We just forgot the right entrance. A watch company releases a new compass. Not north-south, but inward. It spins gently, unmoved by magnetics. People follow it and find quiet, not destinations. Moments. One user walks all day, only to end up at their childhood home. Another steps into fog and finds their own name carved in bark. The compass doesn't find places. It finds you. City borders blur. Moss creeps up walls. Sidewalk cracks bloom. Some buildings lean slightly, not from weight, but from something soft below. Nature doesn't reclaim. It integrates. And in one quiet street, a single voice echoes from a drain. You can live here now, if you stop resisting the rhythm. The city listens, and one morning, it exhales. People remember things they never lived. A stranger's wedding, a fire in a house across the world, but the emotion is real. Like memory has gone communal. Grief shared, joy echoed. The spiral wasn't a voice, it was a link. And now, what one remembers, all might feel, not as invasion, as inheritance, because not every whisper was warning. Some were gift. Your dreams run downward, no longer flight, but depth. You move through roots, through soil, through warmth that never burns. You no longer fear the dark. It feels familiar, like a long-lost language. And at the deepest point, just before waking, you feel something wrap around your hand. Not to pull you down, but to remind, you've always belonged below. Nobody draws it anymore, because they don't need to. The spiral is in gait, in breath, in how we pause before speaking, in how wind moves hair across our face. It's no longer a symbol. It's architecture, of thought, of rhythm. You don't follow the spiral. You move because of it. And even when forgotten, it continues, under skin, within step, forever turning. It no longer waits in places. It waits in pauses, between words, between moments, in skipped heartbeats, in blank pages. You won't find the spiral in the woods. You'll find it in what you forget to say. And if you feel something in your stillness, that's not fear. That's the forest, passing through your silence, softer than breath, stronger than memory. What if there was never a forest? No trail, no clearing, just an idea that needed roots, and found them in us. We called it place, but it was always pattern. It grew not in dirt, but in attention, and now that it's in rhythm, in instinct, there's no need to name it, only to move with it. The whisper is not behind you, it is you. The story ends, but you're still walking, still breathing in spiral cadence, still pausing when the wind lines just right. You never entered the forest, not truly, but you carry it now, in choice, in silence, in the way you sometimes speak less and feel more. So next time someone whispers your name, don't ask why, just listen and see if this time you whisper back,